We had our first in-house church service last week at Union Hill, and it was amazing. Like I told them on Sunday, when everybody started singing, when we sang those songs with the alto lead and the chorus, it was the closest thing to heaven. I missed hearing the voices of those of like precious faith singing praises to God together in one place, and I hope that things continue to travel towards getting back to normal Bible class, normal Wednesday night services. We're not there yet, which is why you still see my ugly mug in the beautiful creek on whatever device you're using. And this last week of being mostly off of everything social media related has been like a hot shower after a hard day's work. It has been great. So much less to think about, so much less to digest, so much less to worry about, be anxious about, to get upset about. Most of the fields that I've been in over the last few days have been places with little to no cell service, and it's been me, the Lord, and the dirt, with the occasional deer fly taking a bite out of my head. Those things hurt, and I would suggest you do the same, not to get bit by a deer fly. To limit how much garbage of the world you choose to take in at one time online. Because honey buns are good, but eating 12 of them will make you sick. Anyway, I know it's not Father's Day yet, okay? But something happened day before yesterday that made me think about it. I was almost done planting this field, okay? The field that this creek runs through. It's not the regular creek I'm in. I was planting this field and it started peppering down rain. And I knew there was even more of a chance of rain coming that evening. I had 2 or 3 more rounds and I was done, okay? But I hit a hole in the field made by a groundhog from Hades because it looked like a cave that a bear would live in. Anyway, it jumped a chain off the planter. I needed 2 wrenches to fix it. Only had one. Story of my life. Trying everything I could to get this chain back on. I had to walk around looking for a single bar of cell service. I guess that's the bad thing of being in a place where there's no cell service. To call my brother-in-law to come in the service truck. He was 20 minutes away. It was getting dark. The rain was getting heavier. The field was getting slicker. And I thought, I'm not going to get done. Few rounds left, okay? I ain't going to get done with this field. Just a few rounds left. And this field's on the backside of nowhere, okay? I have to cross this creek to get there. And I'm walking towards the creek to wash all the chain oil off my hands. It's peppering down rain a little more. And I'd already come to the conclusion that the rest of the field would have to wait until it dried up after the rain. It was one of those disheartening things, not getting done what you want to get done. And as I'm walking towards the creek crossing, okay, and what do I see? I see headlights. And I'm wondering who in the world was back here in this field. Nobody knows where this field is. Who in the world's back here? And my dad pulls up in his old truck. My dad retired from farming last year. He has now become the barefoot gardener. Good show for HGTV to make, and he was just checking on me because he knew I'd started the field earlier in the day. And I asked him when he was across the creek if he had a 3/4 wrench. He had the tools, needed to get the chain back on. He walks across the creek water, barefoot, by the way. About that time, my brother-in-law shows up, and he fixes the pin that's sheared because the chain locked up, and I get the rest of the field planted just in time to get out of it before all the rain turned the ground into mud. And all the, what am I going to do? How am I going to get this fixed? All the wringing of my hands, being anxious about this, was really for nothing. Because I had a father who was watching over me. I had a brother-in-law who's not that bad of a guy. Proverbs 23, verse 22 says, listen to your father who gave you life. Listen to your father who gave you life. When I was growing up, that had a different meaning because if I didn't listen to my father, he could take away my life. My four-wheeler was my life in middle school, he could take that away. My truck was my life in high school, he could take that away. He could take those things away if I didn't listen, if I didn't learn. Listen to your father who gave you life meant I needed to listen to my dad or else. But in the 4th decade of my life, weird thing to say out loud, that phrase, gave you life, listen to the father who gave you life, has so much more wrapped up in it than just my dad is my physical dad. There is a reason that my whole life has been wrapped up in the church. There's a reason my whole life's been wrapped up in farming and in singing. There's a reason for that. My father gave me life. I watched him, listened to him, taught me those things. He gave me life. He gave me not only physical life, but he gave me the tools I needed to live that life if I would choose to listen. Dad has always been the one I've answered to on the farm. He's always been the boss, and now that torch has been passed, so to speak, There is never a time that I can forget who gave me this life, who taught me the work ethic of this life. I watched him work long hours. I watched him, in the granary unloading trucks. I rode with him in the tractor. When I was growing up, I went with my dad to all these places that he would fill in preach, and all those country congregations who needed someone to fill in. They would call Dad, and I would listen to him preach. I would watch him interact with people in the church, shake hands, have discussions, teach Bible classes, have conversations. I've been preaching now for 21 years. He gave me the tools I needed for this life. Growing up, sitting in the pew at church, I would listen to him sing tenor and my mom sing alto, and I learned to sing by listening to them. He gave me this life. He taught me how to harmonize, how to blend, how to love music. And he's not just my dad because he's my physical dad. He gave me all the tools I needed for this life of preaching, this life of farming, of singing. Listen to your Father who gave you life, who taught you about this life, who gave you the tools to live this life, who put food on your table. The Father who made you do chores, the Father who whipped you when you needed it, taught you when you didn't. Listen to your Father who gave you the tools to be able to live this life. As my dad was driving away, I was thinking there's so many things I just take for granted. And one of them is having a dad I have learned from and who I can still listen to. A Father who gave me life. And just like I have to lay the credit at his feet for being a Father who gave me the tools for this life, who gave me life, so I have to lay the credit at God's feet for giving me such an example to live by. Listen to your Father who gave you life. Thanks, Dad, for being the barefoot gardener with a 3/4 inch.